and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to welcome you all to the 6th International Procurement and Supply Chain Conference 2021, presented by Blue Ocean Conferences.
This is the biggest gathering I've seen since the beginning of the pandemic. I congratulate you on the selection of the theme of this conference: One World, One Supply Chain, Evolution of Connected Global Supply Chain Community. As I said, it goes very well with also the theme of the expo.
Our next panel is all about the struggles and the challenges of the modern supply chain and how it had to be overcome to create sustainability in the supply chain management. To moderate this session, please welcome to the stage the CFO of Blue Ocean Academy, Mr. VS Ramachandran. Thank you so much, sir. And your panelists, sir, please welcome the CEO and Managing Partner of UHY James, Mr. James Mathew, to the stage. Supply Chain Director at Petrofac, Mr. Yogen Shah. Supply Chain Manager at Al Awadhi, Mr. Mozammil Aissa. Director of Commercial Sourcing at DO, Mr. Nawaf Al Awadhi.
Welcome, Yogen.
And Program Director, Procurement and Supply Chain Management at Blue Ocean Academy, Mr. Sudipta, every time I get that wrong, Sudipta Chatterjee.
I got a very elite panel sitting here. There was a feedback from one of the audience members saying that why don't the moderator sit on the side so that it's easy for them to address the audience. So I'm going to represent you, okay? And they're going to be the experts who are going to answer the queries which I'm going to pose to them. Life is all about balancing, correct? We need to balance everything. Everything is about moderation. Everything is about taking risk into consideration. Everything is about sustainability. You know, we need to make sure that the show can go on. So now they're talking about net zero and all that. UAE has promised 2050 will be their net zero target. Some of the other nations have said 2070. I'm sure, I don't know how long, I don't think I'll be alive to see that probably. Anyway, there's a slight change in the topic. The topic is going to be finding a right balance in supply chain management from the perspectives of risk mitigation, sustainability, and efficiency. So we are trying to connect 3-4 contrasting points. You know, in my organization, myself and my CEO always have an argument. I'm always worried about the cost and the money part, being the CFO. But my CEO is all about delivering excellence, how we go the extra mile to deliver to our customers. I say, Dr. Menon, look, there is a cost involved. But then we also talk about sustainability, how we render service to our students and our customers. So with that small introduction, I would request one of the senior members here, Mr. James, who's got more than 30 years of financial experience in this market. James, this last 20 months, or almost 2 years, have been very tumultuous. Our lives have been turned topsy-turvy. What do you feel, or what is your opinion about how the markets have behaved? What are the challenges which the organizations have faced, and how some of the organizations have been able to manage it and still survive? Go ahead, James. It's your turn.
Thank you, Ram. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Blue Ocean, for giving me this opportunity. As Sheikh Nayan was today mentioning that, you know, he hasn't seen a conference like this with some 800 plus people here assembled at one place, even during the pandemic time. You know, I've been a chartered accountant for the last 30 years, and I've been the chairman of chartered accountants here. We got around 2,500 members. And whenever we do a conference like this, you know, even if it is some 700 or 800 people, half the people used to be sitting outside, half the people will be on, maybe, and some of them would be on the mobiles. But what I could see is that, you know, you got around 800 people, captive audience here. Put a round of applause for all of you. Thank you, Ram, for that question. I think I can take it that almost everybody is from UAE. Is that so? almost, I think Saudi is closed. Yeah, I think I can see that most of you are from UAE here. We had a difficult time. Harvard Business Review in 2020 said the most vulnerable economies are the ones who are using the Chinese factory. And then we know in 2020 we had the lockdown. We went through a difficult time. The travel industry, it is estimated there are $4 trillion of losses. We had the unemployment on the highest. We had the new job seekers finding it extremely difficult. We had all the difficult time. The discussion today about even on the chip crisis on what we are talking about, it is estimated that 4 million lesser vehicles are coming into the market in this year, which is talking about $110 billion of revenue loss for the economy, I would say. So this has been a difficult time, and since we are discussing a very important topic, supply chain, I think we will touch more on the supply chain aspect. The two lockdown in China, and the second one I wouldn't call lockdown because it's around 40-45% reduction in the industrial production, which is happening on account mainly of the electricity crisis which they are talking about. And you're looking at the demand supply factor because the market opened, there is a huge the demand going up for the products, and the products are not there in the market. And the shipping prices. I just wanted to say around 35 to 40% of the shipping companies' ships are basically leased. And then you have the issue of when the lockdown happened, when there was a production coming down, basically they gave all these ships back, and then they had the issue, it has gone out from the market because they've been scrapped. The situations now, what we are seeing today is the increased cost in every item that is being consumed by us. So I don't think the supplier is going to bear it. I don't think even anybody else in the middleman is going to bear it. It's all going to be borne by each one of us, the end user. So this is a difficult time what we are going through. Now, since this morning, I think there are two important aspects which we touched upon was, Dr. Jasim, he was talking about employee skills from positioning to pinnacle on the 5 skill sets you've spoken about. And after David from NMC spoke about the people quality management. World over today, I think the biggest challenge what is happening is employee retention and the issues related to that one. Because we moved into a hybrid system. In UAE, I don't think anybody would have expected that we would have a system of working from home. But then this is the reality which has come in. So I will talk about a little more on this one. This has been a difficult time, but I think the time is coming back. It's good time. We can see all of you here. I think the good time are coming back. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you for that insight about what the world went through. In fact, I even understood that there was a shortage of containers, for instance. Forget about shortage of ships, shortage of containers now. The whole production line has been disrupted, and definitely all of you know that. Knowing that, I would direct this question to Mr. Nawaf. How can we build sustainability and resilience in supply chain management, taking so many factors into consideration?
Thank you, Ram. I'd like to thank Blue Ocean for organizing such an amazing event today and bringing all the experts in this industry together back again. In my opinion, I think we need to concentrate on 4 pillars, Ram. The first pillar would be planning. If you plan well, if you have a proper inventory buffer, if you use the proper technology, if you use the proper digital innovation in your planning, you'll be able to mitigate a big part of the risk here in the supply chain industry. The second pillar would be multi-sourcing.
Okay.
So I think one of my colleagues earlier mentioned that it's very important to have different sources, not only as suppliers, but also the manufacturers. To have the near-shoring, to have some global suppliers, to have some local suppliers. This is very important.
Basically, you don't put all your eggs in one basket.
In one basket. Okay. This applies here specifically.
Right.
The third pillar would be, which is the most important pillar, I believe, is to have proper supplier partnership.
Okay.
Your suppliers are not only suppliers, they are your partners. This is where you can have proper strategic collaborations with your suppliers and their manufacturers too. As mentioned earlier regarding the global chipset crisis, lots of suppliers did not, or lots of customers did not consider the manufacturers of their suppliers. So they did not diversify their manufacturers. So that's a very important point, and it's always important to have a win-win situation with your partners.
Very true, very true.
You have to have some sort of support to your suppliers. For instance, us in Do, during the pandemic, we try to support our partners as much as possible. We try to give them some advance payments, etc., to help them to stand up again. The final pillar, which I think was the topic of the day, which is agility. Supply chain agility is very important to adapt the change as an organization, not only the supply chain department, but as an organization as a whole, to be agile, to be able to adapt any sort of change, any sort of uncertainty in the market. That is very important.
Okay.
Thank you, Ram.
So thank you. So I think those 4 pillars, what he was telling is planning, multi-sourcing, partnership, and agility. I think those are the building blocks to ensure that you build sustainability and resilience in your supply chain management. Thank you, Nawaf, for that wonderful explanation. I will address this question to my colleague Sudipta here. He's a very experienced person in supply chain. How can an organization effectively build robust programs that will address both known as well as unknown risks in supply chain management?
First of all, thank you, Ram. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we're talking about known and unknown risks. Well, risk is there, some known, some unknown. Even, known risks, what do we do about it? Honestly speaking, was COVID-19 unknown?
Well, I can't say about that.
No?
There's so many conspiracy theory about it.
Yeah, we have read that Mr. Bill Gates and some others had already predicted that the world is going to be hit with a pandemic sooner or later.
Yeah.
And it did hit. But according to reports, 70% of the industries were caught unaware, in spite of having risk management systems in place. So the bigger question is not to have risk management systems in place per se, but how do we really take it forward? How do we really implement it, monitor it, review it, and improve it? So known risks could also pose problems if we do not take care about it, if we are not serious about it, if we intentionally choose to ignore it. Then coming to unknown risks. Unknown devil is better than an unknown friend.
Known angel.
So unknown risks which are truly unknowable, or the so-called black swan events, these will be surprises. There will be surprises lurking in corners. We cannot do anything about it. Well, for known risks, we have a lot of literature in place. We have the risk register, or the risk library, as to say, which is getting fatter day by day because new risks are getting into the repertoire of the library every day. But unknown risks which are truly unknowable, I feel honestly, there cannot be any containment actions. What we can do is basically plan for contingency.
Yep.
Now yes, to some extent, if we use technology like machine learning, predictive analytics using big data,
True.
or let's say even meta heuristics for simulating scenarios, so-called scenario planning, or even more sophisticated tools which were erstwhile restricted only to the domain of reliability or aerospace engineering, like fault tree analysis, failure mode and effect analysis. These have not been properly utilized in the domain of risk management so far.
Sure.
Now, to tackle these unknown risks, well, these tools have to be utilized because, as you know, newer problems demand newer techniques. And as I said, containment plans cannot work, so we have to plan for contingency. And in contingency, yes, we have to keep our ears or eyes open. We have to keep spotting trends. By the way, I was going through a report by McKinsey, which is really, fear-evoking. It says organizations are going to face disruptions lasting 1 month or more, on an average, every 3.7 years. So come what may, however prepared we are, risks will be on us. So we need to have proper contingency plans, which includes, as Nawaf already mentioned, agility. We have to be extremely agile, we have to respond fast, we have to hit the constraints, and we have to be extremely flexible and adapt to new situations. And last but not the least, leadership commitment. So I think if we can have these three, adaptability, agility, and leadership commitment, we will sail through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sudipta. Thank you for a wonderful. So every 3.7 years, you get a 1 month breakdown. So this is a news going out for all the CEOs. You can plan your staff vacation 1 month every 3.7 years. Okay? For sure, you know that. You know, in the hotel industry, for example, all the maintenance is always scheduled during the Ramadan period because they know the traffic is going to be less. Talking about risk management, in fact, we were also wondering what should I do. For example, one of the risk mitigation methods we use, of course, is the insurance method. Even this conference, when we started, we were not sure where the market was going. So we were thinking, should we insure this incident or not? Then we decided no, if the Dubai government is going to open for Expo 70, so now we knew it was a risk, but it was a known risk, and I'm sure there are methods to get around that. Thank you very much. So leadership and agility, most important. Thank you very much, Sudipta. Okay, this is a question addressed to somebody who's very good at cost management, and he's got the lineage to prove that, okay? This is addressed to Yogen. What tips will you provide for efficiently managing the costs of risk reduction? Almost always this is the question. How do I manage the cost?
Ram, it is a very tricky question actually. Reducing the cost and also managing risk. It is like two diametrically opposite goals you are trying to achieve. So as you said, that CFO wants the profitability and the CEO wants the excellence in execution.
Exactly.
So how to strike a balance is the most important thing. And I come from a different industry, like not the manufacturing setup, but the EPC industry. And that industry probably have the projects which are 3 years, 5 years. So risk for us in the EPC industries are very huge in terms of volatility in the prices, the logistics challenges. So what is most important for us is to identify all the risk and then do the risk mitigation plan. And every organization has a different ability to take the risk.
True.
So you like you do in the personal finances, your own risk profiling. So the organization has to do what is their risk profiling and what risk they can take. How to improve the cost is again depending upon what is your business plan, how you want to do your business, particularly in the EPC sector. But I think the most important thing is that we have to also educate the end users, because like if the end users opt for the price which is variable, where the steel cost or copper cost, it can be adjusted at the end of the project, I think it will bring out the win-win solution for both industry as well as the contractors. Right now what is happening, everybody is going for the fixed cost module, and at the end of the day, the contractor is there at the losing end. So I think the most important thing is to try to like share with the industry how we can all achieve the goals together with the win-win solutions.
Very true.
That is what is my thought about this, how to reduce.
Thank you again. It's a tricky question, I knew that, because always there's cost is one side and you want to also control the risk. In fact, that reminds me, I don't know how many of you in this hall have made your own will. Everybody knows that there is an expiry date for each one of us. But how many of us have taken the steps to do making our own will. Probably you can check yourself at the end of this evening how you're covering that risk. Yeah, covering risks, and there's a cost is always involved. So you've got to strike a balance. 100% agreed. Going to Mozammil here, what steps do you recommend to strike the right balance in managing and achieving supply chain efficiency? Now we have been talking about costs, so now I want to get your opinion managing supply chain efficiency, because he's one of the supply chain manager in a leading organization here in UAE.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I'm happy to be here, and thanks to Blue Ocean Academy for having me. I just wanted to highlight one thing first about the nature of risk. When people talk about nature of risk, I believe when the demand changes also, there is even more challenging process. Coming from a food industry where everybody was staying home, the food consumption has increases, the demand has increases as well. We were at a greater risk that we need to secure the requirement and the need of everyone. So the risk here was
the demand is good, it's good for your business. I don't know how it could be a risk.
Well, I mean,
everybody is dying to get business.
It sounds a good news.
Yeah.
That the demand has increases, but from supply chain perspectives, it was a chaos to us, because we need to secure actually over 35% over what we need, and that was a greater risk. Having said so, looking at all the comments made by my friends here, I all agree with all of it. The COVID-19 was out of the box risk or event. Nobody thought about it. Nobody was expecting it. So no one was ready for any kind of mitigation or reaction risk management plan for it. But now how to react? I think the reaction was vary from one company to another. Based on what? First of all, when we look at the supply chain design, having a flexible design on supply chain allow you to adapt the changes faster. Then you will be able to react to events such as COVID or even Suez Canal much faster. Who thought we will be sent to work from home overnight? If you don't have a technological infrastructure, the company won't be able to do that. So looking at that, I would look at, when we talk about how to utilize this experience in a positive way, we need to look at the financial aspect and the physical aspect as well as the technological aspect.
Sure.
So I would like to go backward, starting from technology. Having a proper technology infrastructure allow companies to act faster. But without people, without a well-trained people, you won't be able to move to that step faster. Then we go next. People is important. A well-trained people who can adapt all these changes faster. I'm not talking about training them to use or utilize the technology. No, everybody knows how to use the technology. But training them of how to react, to move towards a different activity and different work process, because we completely change our work process towards achieving the target of mitigating this risk. The second point is the cost, for sure. I don't want to talk about it, because risk, as he rightly said, you should be ready to invest a little bit more money. Capacity. Do you have the capacity from people perspectives, from logistics perspectives? The lead time will be affected. Inventory, how to manage the inventory, how to plan the inventory. I cannot say you should have a plan B. Plan B is a cost in inventory. But you should have an alternative in suppliers, in products. I'm not talking about suppliers only. Coming from a food business, we have also alternative final products where we can use different recipes, different ingredients, giving you the same product with the same test, but with a different product. So here we are talking about diversification of suppliers of component and ingredients and raw material as well. I think that was the major point which saves the business. Looking forward to adapt something like this in all type of businesses, I think it's easy to do that. And that, to me, is a shortcut towards overcoming any kind of event. Not 100%, but at least.
Thank you very much, Mozammil, for that interesting insight. My timekeeper says time is almost up. Is there time to ask one question from the audience, or we are done? I'm sorry guys, I think we balanced it so very well, we didn't leave you enough time to ask questions. Thank you very much for the panels for making this session interesting. Thank you so much. And I hope you all had an interesting session. At least I think I didn't let you go to sleep, I guess. That was one of my main objectives of this session. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. If I could please ask Dr. Satya Menon to join us on stage, along with Dr. Jasim Al-Ali, to give a small token of appreciation. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much.